Good evening. This meeting is, the open session is called to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Four point zero two, approval of agenda, and the motion is to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Hearing none, that motion passes. The next motion is to approve the Board of Education meeting minutes for November 6, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing none, that motion also passes. We have no patron comments tonight, so we will move on right to superintendent and board comments.
Thank you, President Badgett. As we shared with our communities in September and October of 2024, just want to provide a reminder, although it's 55 degrees outside right now, that will not always be the case. So as we approach the winter months, I just wanted to touch base on our plan and our expectations regarding school cancellations this year due to inclement weather. We have 3 fewer student attendance days this year compared to last year, and this reduces the number of inclement weather days that we have. So that number will now be 4 days. 4 days, as you can see on the exhibit in front of us, 4 days before we move to alternate methods of instruction, or AMI. In other words, a virtual learning environment, in order to not extend the school year. And you can see from the display that you see, that'll be days 5 through 9. For the 2025-26 school year, this means that, again, 1 to 4 inclement weather days, there will be no change to the end of the school year. For days 5 to 9, AMI will be utilized, and there will be no change to the last day of the school year. For 10 or more days, the district calendar will be adjusted accordingly. We will be sharing additional information with our community about inclement weather days and the specific policy and implications behind those days, as well as the structure for AMI during potential AMI days. And that information will come shortly. The Rockwood Educational Access Department presented certificates to educators from 18 different Rockwood elementary, middle, and center-based students for creating classrooms or hallway displays that cultivated inclusion and belonging in their respective school communities. The displays took a variety of different forms, but all of them included elements of students expressing their personalities and interests through pictures or through artwork. These projects were prominently displayed in educators' classrooms or in the hallways of their respective schools, all intended to cultivate a sense of belonging through an opportunity for our students to see themselves in their learning environment. Rockwood High Schools participated in a different way. Through their respective art departments, students had the opportunity to create portraits in a variety of mediums. Teachers selected 10 portraits from each one of the high schools. They were prominently displayed in each school and were brought here this week. These 40 pieces of art celebrate the talent and the diversity of thousands of high school students all across the Rockwood School District. Rockwood Director of Educational Access, Dr. Colette Higgins, presented the awards to the educators' schools on October 8th, 9th, and 10th, giving colleagues and students the chance to celebrate this honor. High school winners will receive gift cards in the coming weeks. You can see photos of these displays and the actual certificates being presented on display here tonight in the annex for those that are not in the space right now, all along the perimeter of this building. of this room. Congratulations to these Rockwood educators, the students, most definitely their parents, and a special thank you to Dr. Megan Meyer for facilitating the high school portion of this initiative to honor representation. I think that deserves a round of applause.
Absolutely.
A special congratulations to this year's 10 recipients of the Rockwood Cornerstone Award. This celebrates the outstanding support staff members who serve our students and our staff each and every day. These exceptional staff members were chosen by the Cornerstone Committee, and they were selected from a pool of more than 80 nominees from all around the Rockwood School District. Students, staff, and community members helped to celebrate each of them during a Cornerstone Awards patrol, which was on November 13th. And they will also be honored at our annual Rose Award ceremony, which will be held later this spring. This week, the Rockwood School District joins school districts across the nation to also celebrate American Education Week, which has been observed since 1921. We take this opportunity to celebrate public education and to honor the individuals making a difference, ensuring that Rockwood students receive a very high quality education. Most definitely congratulations in order there. On November 7th, the Lafayette girls volleyball team took home the Class 5A state championship. That means the Lancers are now back to back state champions, and they have won the state title 10 times in the past 15 years. This year's team finished the season 40-1, 40 wins, 1 loss, and is currently ranked 15th in the nation according to USA Today and the American Volleyball Coaches Association. I want to take a moment to congratulate all the players, the coaches, the parents, and supporters who have put in all the time and dedication and effort to build such an impressive program at Lafayette High School. The Rockwood School District will be off next Wednesday. Parents, that's not Monday or Tuesday, despite what you may or may not hear at home. That is next Wednesday through Friday for Thanksgiving break. I hope that everyone has a fun and relaxing holiday, spends some quality time with family and with friends, and is able to reflect on what they are thankful for. One thing I am most definitely thankful for is the absolutely invaluable service of our veterans and our service members who have contributed and continue to contribute to our community, our state, and to our nation. Rockwood schools showed their appreciation for our veterans and our service members and their respective communities during our veterans programs and events which occurred from November 6th through the 12th. They hosted meals, assemblies, performances, parades, and other festivities. I have always felt this is one of the best parts of the school year, and I was able to attend a number of these ceremonies and was very pleased with the respect and the gratitude on display at each one of these events. It serves as an absolutely invaluable learning experience for our students, and it's not only seeing, it's feeling how our veterans respond to this appreciation from this generation of students. They truly show their best by showing appreciation and gratitude to our veterans. So thank you to those who have served. Freedom is never, ever, ever free. Thank you to those who have served. And here are some scenes from Westridge Elementary School's celebration.
Speaking of projectors.
Thank you. Those are my comments for the evening. Thank you.
So I want to thank my fellow board member, board director colleagues for attending many Veterans Day celebrations. We were all out there and we had our spreadsheet and we were like, okay, I'm going to sign before Carrie does. So it was really a lovely days really, because it spanned over that week, and that was a nice way of having it presented to us. So thank you all for being there and sharing the fun.
I would just like to make a comment, if I could take my board hat off for a second and put my veterans hat on. I think it's very commendable for both the school district and the overall attitude of the country today that we do things like this for our veterans. I remember I commented to Principal Lavanos that when I was active in the service, the first time I wore my uniform through an airport, I got spit on. We are a far cry from that today, and it's very, very pleasing to see us bringing the veterans into the schools and the praise that we give them. It's just very touching as a veteran. So thank you on behalf of my fellow veterans for what we do here in Rockwood.
Actually, at Rockwood Summit, there was a World War II veteran there. Yeah,
There's one at Rockwood South
Yeah.
as well.
it's great.
You know the video that's going around at the high school that the kids come up, tell one thing that brought you joy or one thing that happened to you today that's kind of been viral. And the one thing that brings me absolute joy is listening to little kids sing. And I was at the Stanton Veterans Assembly, and it just brings you absolute joy. So, oh boy, do I need to get Kleenex?
So with talking about little kids singing, I went to Fairway and there was a first year music teacher in Fairway. And she was very nervous about pulling off the Veterans Day celebration. You could just tell. Kim was there. She just did a great job. Every single student participated. They were singing, they were moving, the veterans were smiling. It was just amazing. But I thanked her so much for coming to Rockwood and taking on that challenge. It wasn't taking on the joy more than the challenge.
I also want to comment I had comments from the community at Merrimack Bluffs that ROTC groups went out to the community and it did ceremonies and assemblies for them, and they were so appreciative of that. So thank you to the students and the staff that took the time to organize all that for them.
All right, 7.01, approval of consent agenda items. The motion is to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
So moved.
Second,
Any discussion?
I'd like to pull out 7.09 with our public gifts this month. We have 3 generous donations one from the Blevins PTO, and a monetary amount of $15,000 to support activities including projector and screens for their gym and staff appreciation. From the Hayden, Hudson, and Hunter Lee, it's a monetary $5,000 donation to support Marquette High School, and they've designated several different groups. Rockwood Gives Back among them, and the Rockwood Backpack Program, so thank you. And then the Stanton PTO also had a monetary gift donation to the school for activities for staff and classroom support. We're always appreciative of the financial support of our staff and community, so we thank them greatly for aiding our efforts to provide a strong public education for all of our students. Thank you so much for all you do.
If I could, I'd like to make a comment about item 7.04, our financial report. Very often, particularly during our recent Prop S election, but also frequently independent of that, we often get comments, why do we have a large fund balance? If you look at that report, you will see that in the report is for September, so 2 months ago, we brought in $6 million roughly of revenue, and we spent $26 million, meaning we ran a $19,562,062 deficit that month, and that's for September. We ran a smaller deficit, but still a deficit in August, and we will run a larger deficit in October and November. Why? Because our funds are front-loaded in December, January, as property taxes come in. I know everyone on the board is very familiar with that, but to our community at large, that is why we have a fund balance, so that we don't have to borrow money to make payroll. So I just like to point that out to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no more discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Hearing none, the motion passes. We are now moving to an information item, Proposition 3, funding update with Cindy Boyes, CFO.
Good evening. I am just really excited to bring to you tonight an update about Proposition 3 and the many accomplishments that we've seen throughout the district because of the funding strategy, because of the Proposition 3 funding strategy for our capital projects. So first, I'll just start out with an overview of what Prop 3 was. For anyone who might be tuning in who was not around back in 2023 when this measure was placed on the ballot. So Proposition 3 was approved in a special election November 7th, 2023 with 66.3% voter approval after several years of planning and debt restructuring to allow the district to restructure their tax rate. We're transferring 54 cents of the debt service levy to the capital projects levy over a 2-year period with no increase in the total tax rate. So Prop 3 provides a dedicated annual funding for safety, technology, and facilities needs throughout the district, which achieves the fiscal responsibility objectives of our strategic plan. It allows proactive long-term planning because we can project this annual funding and budget capital expenditures with a plan for cycle maintenance. That is, putting everything on a schedule for replacement rather than having to pass a bond issue and replace whatever is in the worst shape at that point in time. This reduces the district's reliance on bond issues and the interest costs related to that. And I'll have a little bit of information about that for you later in the presentation. So this slide shows how we transferred that 54 cents, 36 cents the first year and 18 cents the second year. That was this tax year. Those transfers were part of the process of setting the tax rate, which the board does every September. And it happened exactly as planned, exactly as promised when Proposition 3 was set forth. Communication is a really important component of our strategies for fiscal responsibility and transparency, and we communicate throughout the year in a variety of ways about Proposition 3. So first, we have a special website, a dashboard on the Rockwood School District website that can be accessed from the Finance Department page of the website. It's updated quarterly and it's fed directly from reports from our accounting software. So it's getting the actual numbers for all of our projects that have been completed. It shows the actual dollars spent on completed projects and the dollar amount that's encumbered or budgeted for projects that are in process or in the planning stages. And it's got all the information for projects planned through fiscal year 27 up there right now. As promised during the campaign, we have set up a capital planning advisory committee. This includes the 6 administrators that are responsible for district safety and security, technology, facilities, and financing, including our director of purchasing. 9 educators and support staff from throughout the district, 8 community members from throughout the district, and 1 Board of Education member, that's Mr. Cadigan. We have a goal of meeting 3 times per year. We met in September. We'll meet again in January and in May. The notes from those meetings, presentations that were given at those meetings are posted on the website also. And these meetings provide regular updates and discussion of the district's needs, help with setting our priorities. Mary LePack and her staff put out periodic news articles related to the major projects and social media postings. And then, as I'm doing tonight, we'll have an annual update to the Board of Education. So this slide provides a recap of the finances related to Prop 3. The most important thing to note, I think, is that we have set up a separate sub-fund, Fund 430, that is going to capture these revenues and account for the expenditures through that fund, so that we can always report with completeness to our community what's going on with Prop 3 funds. So the first year of this was fiscal year 24-25. Of course, that's all tax revenue, so it came in during the December-January time period. We had almost $19 million that year. Interest that's earned on that money as it's sitting in the account waiting to be expended gets credited to that account. So we had total revenue of just over $19 million. We had project expenditures that year of just over $13 million. So we ended with a fund balance of almost $6 million. But what this shows is we're bringing the money in during January or December-January time period. Most of the projects that we're using this money for happen during the summer, and we're not going to pay for anything until it's completed. And so that $6 million doesn't represent a reserve. It represents the money that has not yet been spent out to pay for those projects that were happening over the summer. Every year we budget for the entire amount to be spent. So you can see for this year that we're currently in, 25-26, we expect not to have much of an ending fund balance. Can't bring that exactly to zero, but we expect all of those funds have been budgeted to be expended on projects that we'll talk about here in a minute. Also on this page, I put in kind of a shameless plug for our district budget book. Pages 158 through 167. We've got 9 pages that have a lot of information about our whole capital planning process and the specific budget details. What projects are budgeted within that 25-26 number you can see in our budget book or on the website. Okay, so the 3 areas were safety and security, technology, and facilities. Within the safety area, the first item that we completed under Prop 3 funds in any of the areas was the bus gates stop arm extensions. That was a project that was near and dear to my heart. We also have provided all of our buildings district-wide with new radios, walkie-talkies. And then along with that project, there was a lot of infrastructure that was improved for the radio communication. So we now have, before these new radios, we had radios that could only communicate within the building. Now we have district-wide radios as well. In progress, we have the door access control system, which consists of the keypads at the doors. It can help us to be able to do away with keys, much more secure system. It also includes an alert system so that if doors are propped or people are accessing the doors at a time that they're not supposed to, alerts will go out on that. Following along behind that is surveillance cameras at every door in the entire district, at all of our buildings. And then also this year we engaged Strategos for the district-wide safety and security assessment so we can see what future priorities might need to be. In the summer of 26, we're going to do the door access control systems at our secondary buildings, and we will begin implementation of some of the recommendations from Strategos. technology. So one of the great district's greatest needs and one of the best examples of why bond issues were not a fiscally responsible strategy for all of our capital expenditures was student devices. And we were able to, because of Prop 3, do a massive refresh of more than 5,000 Chromebooks and more than 1,000 iPads at the start of the 2024-25 school year. And since then, we've been able to regularly do the regularly scheduled refresh of 6th graders and 9th graders for the 25-26 school year. There's a lot of the technology projects that have been kind of behind the scenes with infrastructure improvements to our data switches and servers that would improve our connectivity and efficiency of our internet service throughout the district. Last summer, we installed over 500 interactive flat panels in the classrooms to replace smart boards that were over 15 years old. We'll do another 500 this summer. We'll do some more of the technology infrastructure improvements, and we will be able to maintain that cycle of 6th graders and 9th graders getting new devices, as well as staff refreshes as those are needed. Facilities. So it is impossible to list on all the detail on a slide of all the deferred maintenance that's being taken care of through Prop 3. But it's all out there on the website by type of project and by building. So these are just some of the highlights of things that we were able to do in facilities. Things that were, out there visible to a lot of people. So new HVAC at 3 of our elementary schools, hard surface paving projects. I just listed here a couple of the larger ones that were sorely needed. Roofing that follows our HVAC replacements, playgrounds, equipment replacements. Right now we're working on a new water line for Rockwood Valley. If you talk to the folks out at Rockwood Valley, you'll find that for years they've been having problems with their water pressure. This is going to take care of that. The Rockwood South track, I wish I could say it was completed, but it is still in progress. That should be happening soon. Should be completed soon. This next summer, we have new HVAC going in at 4 of our buildings, new roofs at the buildings that got HVAC last year, new turf at the Marquette and Rockwood Summit stadiums, and then a lot of projects that were noted. Some of them have been on the list for years, but we just finished our facilities tour where the director of facilities and some of his staff and I go around to every single building, talk with every single building administrator, and actually walk the buildings to help set priorities for the next year's spending. So I would say I've seen more bathrooms than I really wanted to see. That's going to be one of our focuses, and it's going to take some time. I tell you, we got 37 buildings with a lot of bathrooms that need a lot of work, but we'll try and triage those and get to them as quickly as we possibly can. So I love this slide. I know Bob's going to love this slide. So besides the ability to catch up and keep up with the district's technology needs by providing the devices and the connectivity needed to use them to directly impact learning, this slide was one of the greatest impacts of Prop 3. So in November of 2023, when we were talking about this, we had 20 HVAC systems that were over 20 years old. With the projects that are planned for the summer of 2027, which are already being planned, summer 2026 HVAC projects have already been bid out. Summer 2027 systems are right now being designed. So when we get to the fall of 2027, we will have reduced from 20 to 10 the number of HVAC systems that are over 20 years old. The total amount that we'll have spent on HVAC by the fall of 2027 is $35 million. And had we had to issue $35 million in bonds over the life of those bonds for just those 13 projects would have been $10 to $14 million, depending on what interest rate we got. So I think this really illustrates the success and the fiscal responsibility of Prop 3. So future considerations. Right now, for the 26 and the 26-27 budget that we're putting together, we have pretty much the same percentages going to each of those three major areas. But we know that as we catch up with some things like the HVAC systems, that we will continue to evaluate with each year's budget cycle whether the allocations across those three areas might need to change. We know that facilities needs above and beyond cycle maintenance may still require some bond funding. Major renovations to some of our older buildings, for example, Baldwin, will be needed at some point. A lot of the work will continue to be behind the scenes. If people want to see how this money is being spent, they really need to go to the website and take a look at what projects are being completed. Of course, we will always consider in our use of space and our use of these funds the results of the recent demographic study and continuing projections of our student population. And it's important to remember that our future Prop 3 tax rate and our collection rates are going to be impacted by the Hancock Amendment and by the senior citizen tax freeze, as well as any future legislative changes. And there'll be more information on that in our December 19th budget presentation. Are there any questions I can answer for you?
No questions. I just want to thank you for the transparency. We promised our voters that we would be transparent on how the funds were being spent, and we made a promise, and it's very clear that we kept our promise. So thank you.
I get a lot of help. It's not just me.
A couple comments, if I could, maybe not questions, but comments. You know, I'm always going to say something on the financial side. First off, I would like to both commend the department, but also our community for engaging with the Capital Planning Committee. If you are interested in more details about what's going on, come to one of those meetings. We talk about it at length, what's going on, what we're doing, the priorities that are being looked at by the district. So it's a great source if you're wondering what's going on there. I did want to comment on a couple of things you mentioned. Refresh Chromebooks. I just want to point out to folks, we didn't go out and buy a bunch of Chromebooks because we had money. We had a cycle of replacing Chromebooks, as our CFO mentioned, when a student started middle school and when they started high school. We didn't do that for several years because we did not have the money. All right. I know I myself had two kids at home who had 6 and 7 year old Chromebooks. Okay. They weren't working very well. And I'm sorry, not every middle school kid takes care of a Chromebook like an adult will. Let's just be realistic here. So when you get out of middle school, that Chromebook needs to go off to other pastures and you need to get a new one. That's why we bought 5,000 of them all at once like that, was to get us back on that cycle. So I do not think of that as a waste of money. I think of that as money very well spent. I do look forward to us getting over the hump of the HVAC systems. All right. And I know, just to point out to what folks said, and I know Cindy, you and I have talked about this chart many times. Yes, I love this chart because it clearly shows we have a path to get to a good spot. We won't be out of the woods at the end of 2028. There'll still be some of those blue lines, but clearly will have put a dent in it, and I would say we're out of the serious risk category. I think that's where we as a board then need to engage with your team and say, okay, so what are our second level priorities here as we start diverting funds? I know you've got a wish list from the buildings. I am sure some of those items, have probably been on there since, well, I won't go there, but they've been on there for a while. We should probably look at that, but also have a board discussion at some time about what are our priorities. Bathrooms are one, athletic fields. I know we've got some work going on a couple of the football stadiums scheduled, but we've got other athletic fields that might need some attention. And we might just want to have a discussion at the capital planning committee or at the board meeting about how do we weigh those relative priorities out back and forth as we go forward. And I guess the final comment I would just say is very well done to you and your team. I think this is excellent work, and I can't say enough good things about it. So thank you.
Thank you. And we will be in that January Capital Planning Advisory Committee meeting. We'll be sharing information from our Round the World tour when we went to all the buildings.
Since 2 high schools are mentioned as it relates to replacement of football fields, can you speak to early framing of timing for the other football fields within the school district?
Right.
Just get a sense that may lead to just a little bit of sizzle in the
Few
community.
questions,
So
yes.
let's go ahead and just have that brief conversation.
Yeah, so we want to get the same product for all 4 stadiums, and we know that we can probably get the best price if we bid them all 4 out at once. So what we're asking them to do is give us bids for doing these 2 in the summer, and then possibly doing the other 2 sometime during the year next year. And so we would actually get all 4 done in 1 year. Now, we haven't seen that on paper yet, but at the least it would be the following summer. But we are trying to get it done during winter break, the same year as we're having the first 2 done in the summer.
And just a small clerical correction.
So it would, the same fall football season would have new turf at all 4 stadiums.
Just a small clerical correction to Dr. Kane, and I hate to do this to you, sir, but it's the marching band field where the football teams play.
That's right.
Cindy, are the fields going to be the same cocoa? I remember that was the big thing when those turf fields were put in, was the
Actually,
cocoa
no.
versus the plastic. Or,
Yeah,
I don't
we-
know. That was a
we
big.
are not looking at that this time. There are a lot of maintenance issues with that sort of field. They need to be irrigated. They need the infill shifts when there's storms. It wasn't nearly as maintenance free as we thought. And those fields, believe it or not, are more than 10 years old now. And there are more products out there now and better stuff. And so right now, we're looking at the better stuff. And we have, it's not just Cindy Bias and Eric Neiman deciding what we're going to put on those fields. There's a lot of talk. There's a committee. There's, people who are involved.
I just remember Dr. Knost walking around with the cocoa, and we all smell. It was a big deal, so that's why I was asking. Yeah.
It was the latest thing at the time.
To be clear, the fields are not just used for band or for football, right?
That's right.
There are a variety of sports and other activities that utilize the fields. Just
The
they're used much more
pre-plans-
frequently than people may assume.
Yeah. Well, and
Nice job recovering on that.
I'm not making promises here, but just, when I saw some of the plans that they've got coming in for the design, the field, when I was in high school, it was a football field, and marching band field, but this design has not only the football grid painted on it, but lacrosse and soccer, and maybe something else. Field hockey, yes. All of those lines, and you would think that might be too busy, but it seems to work. So yeah, it would be, that would keep us from having to have our grounds crew go out there and paint the lines every season and over and over. So anyway, we've got some exciting things, but what really excites me a lot more than the football fields is the HVAC system and the bathrooms and I would love to. We've got we've got a lot of bathrooms that still have that 1-inch square tile in them. And I don't know if you know it or not, but the grout between
Uh-huh.
those absorbs things that you can never get out. You cannot get it clean, and it has a certain ambiance to it. So yes, I want to, that's something that I hope we can get to really quickly, is get around to all those bathrooms.
Yes, please.
And a lot of the staff bathrooms have been neglected. The student bathrooms were updated, but then I mean, some of them are from the 60s and 70s, and they haven't been.
Have
Yeah,
you
those
been
are
to-
the bathrooms
Or they
that
look
have
like
those
a
1-inch tiles.
cafeteria or a custodial closet where there's the drain and, yeah, some of them are.
I was in a bathroom 2 nights ago at one of the middle schools. I won't tell you which one. Yeah, get on it, please.
But
It
I
was
think the
clean.
good news
It was
is this
clean.
gives us the flexibility to have these conversations.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, with the 2017 bond issue, it was, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we're going to get to as many of the bathrooms as we can. And we didn't get to all of them.
And this will be it's likely to be my last comment, but there are safety components with the recommendations from Strategos that we will be counterbalancing to every single one of these absolutely essential projects as well. So
And
to your
just-
point, we can at least begin to have like planning and conversation. Cindy, like that ability to plan out for versus catching when catch can is a completely different frame to be able to make decisions from. And so thank you to our community for understanding that this is not only needed, it's been well overdue.
And I would assume you're able to then make the best financial decisions on what you purchase them, because you're doing it in a strategic way.
Yes. I mean, timing issues that you run into with bond issues don't exist with these funding streams.
I
Thank
think
you.
you also mentioned too the savings on interest, but you have to think about what it costs the district to bring something to the voters. And that's another expense that was not listed that goes along with the bond issues.
That's a good point. Thank you. There's no
you.
motion here, so thank you very much. We're at 9.01, proposed agenda for the December 4th, 2025 Board of Education meeting, and there is a motion here, and which is to remove patron, superintendent, and board comments from the December 4, 2025 Board of Education meeting agenda to accommodate for the board awards presentations.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That motion carries. 9.02, future agenda presentations and events to attend. As always, there's a lot of great things to be able to attend and participate. Great. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.